All right, there we go. We are on. So, you guys, thank you so much for jumping on tonight. I really wanted to do a little discussion on imposter syndrome. I was actually in a coaching call or coaching meeting with a young lady last week who just kept giving me reason after reason why she wasn't going to do the things that she said she really needed to do for her business. And then she finally said, well, you know what? I don't think I can do anything in my business until I go back to school and get a degree. And I said, well, how long is that going to take? And she said, probably another 2 years. And I looked at her and said, why do you need the degree? And she said, because no one will listen to me if I don't have a degree. And I said, oh, hon, that's just not true. A degree is a wonderful thing. You know, I love degrees. I love credentials. But if you've got good, solid information, people are going to listen to you whether you have that degree or not, right? And as we talked a little bit further, and later I'll get to the example that I gave her, she began to realize that she didn't have to put herself on hold because what she was believing that other people would think about her. Right? In her head, she was thinking that no one would listen to her unless she had a degree, right? And that is part of what imposter syndrome is. Now, imposter syndrome is actually a psychological phenomenon where you feel that you're a fraud or that you're unworthy or that you're just not enough, even though you have evidence to the contrary, right? It goes beyond just self-doubt. Everyone has a little bit of self-doubt. Everyone, at times will feel that, they're not sure whether they could actually do this or not. A little bit of self-doubt is healthy. But when you just constantly over and over and over tell yourself that you're not good enough, that's imposter syndrome, right? And it's a lie that you tell yourself. And so we're going to talk a little bit about those lies and how you can actually kind of change your thinking a little bit and begin to encourage yourself to take those risks. So what are some of the common causes for imposter syndrome? One of them is perfectionism. If you are a perfectionist, you're going to, they kind of go hand in hand with imposter syndrome because no one can ever be perfect, right? You can never be perfect. And when you suffer from perfectionism, you are actually setting your bar so high that, you are always going to make yourself feel inadequate. So the first thing you got to do if you are suffering from perfectionism, you need to let that go, right? And just understand that no one is ever going to be perfect, right? And then the second thing is inferiority complex. If you have low self-esteem, if you are frequently thinking, bad of yourself, thinking that you are less than someone else, then you're going to be more susceptible to imposter syndrome. You're going to be more susceptible of feeling like you're a fraud when you try to do something great because you feel inferior, right? So we've got to nip that inferiority complex in the bud because you are perfectly fine where you are. And if you need more skills, more knowledge, then you can go and get that, but that does not diminish your worth, right? So the inferiority complex has got to go. And then the next thing is maybe you're too much of a soloist, right? That you feel, for whatever reason, that you need to do everything by yourself, on your own, that you are really, one woman against the world. If that's one of your problems, then you will very definitely be susceptible to imposter syndrome because you're afraid to ask for help. You are afraid to reach out and, make yourself vulnerable to someone else. If you're so much of a soloist that you want to be in your own little bubble and no one can help you, then sometimes you're going to be susceptible to imposter syndrome. So, how do you know that you're actually doing imposter syndrome? Well, some of the things that it kind of manifests, and you know this about yourself. You procrastinate, right? You're making excuses. You're only going to put forth like half-hearted effort. You're settling. You settle for less than you deserve because you feel unworthy. You deflect compliments. You're not very comfortable when someone says, "Hey, great job." You're like, "Ooh, oh, was it really?" And you think that, "Oh, I fooled them." No, that is a sign of imposter syndrome. When you cannot accept a compliment, when every time someone says you did a good job, you deflect it, and you actually are thinking that, the only reason they are complimenting you is because you know. If they really knew what was going on, they would be complimenting you. That is imposter syndrome. You avoid taking risks, and you won't take leadership roles. They have to push you to the front of the room, to be the head of the committee or whatever. You always want to be the follower. That may be, you may think about that you may be part of the imposter syndrome there. Because if you are telling yourself that you can't lead this, you're probably telling yourself a lie, right? You are probably allowing some negative thoughts to just kind of roll around in there, and you are embracing them. And that's what we got to stop. You've got to stop embracing the imposter syndrome. So, so does any of that sound like what you're experiencing? Alex, has that ever happened to you? Any of that? Do you ever tell yourself that you're not worthy?
I don't know if I tell myself that, but I know I sometimes feel like it.
You don't tell yourself, but you don't tell yourself that, but you feel like that.
Yeah, I feel like it sometimes.
Okay. Why do you think that you feel that way, but you're not having that inner dialogue?
Put your hands up.
His
name Alex.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, the thought process is I'm a broke college student.
Well, okay, but yeah, just because you're a college student, that means you're pretty accomplished in a lot of other things. You've been doing your business for a while, right?
Yeah.
So really it's just a matter of you owning the successes that you've had, right? Tip,
Yeah.
what about you? Does anything sound familiar? Can you think of a time in your life where you've been kind of hesitant to step forward or trying to make excuses as to not going to the next level? Tip?
I think your connection froze. Looks like your screen froze.
Nope. Yeah, Tip, I don't know if we lost, I still see you on screen, but I'm not hearing you. So it doesn't say you're muted, so that's okay. So let's talk about some of the ways that if you're feeling that imposter syndrome, some of the ways that you can overcome it, right? So first is you need to acknowledge it, right? You need to just do a deep dive, have an honest dialogue with yourself that says, you know what? Even though I'm telling myself all of these things, I'm coming up with these excuses, I'm not doing stuff, I need to have an honest dialogue with me, and that the only reason I'm doing it is because I don't feel worthy. I feel like a fraud. I feel, and it really is a feeling, a dialogue with yourself that is not real. It's not honest. You're not being authentic with yourself. right? So you need to figure out what it is. What is that thing that's holding you back? So let's say that you wanted to lead a training class, but you keep putting it off. You're finding excuses for not doing it. And then you finally get it scheduled, right? But then you don't really promote it. And then finally the day comes and no one shows up, or maybe one person shows up. And you go, well, see there, I knew it wasn't going to work. You know, that is self-sabotage. And that is a classic symptom of imposter syndrome. You actually set yourself up to fail. But we do it all the time, you know, and it's women and men, mostly women. But you actually, there's something inside of you that is preventing you from actually following through with what you want and putting forth your best efforts. And as soon as you can identify what that thing is, bingo, that's what's causing your imposter syndrome. So that's what you want to work with whenever you say, I am not blank enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have enough credentials, not enough people know me, I'm not pretty enough, I'm too fat, I'm not, whatever that thing is that's stopping you, the minute you identify it, then we can address it. And that's really what you have to do in order to overcome imposter syndrome. You got to first identify it. But once you've identified it, then you have to really examine yourself to like, what is your actual truth? Now, I don't know if any of you have ever done a CRAP board. It's a CRAP board. CRAP means for conflicts, resistances, anxieties, and procrastinations. And basically how it works is you get a piece of paper or a big board and you write down all the things that are making you anxious, all the things that you are resisting doing, all the things that you know you're procrastinating with, all of the things that you feel conflicted with. Write it all down, right? Just create a board, write it down as much as you can. And then go through each and every one of them individually and just ask yourself a question. Is that really true? Or do I have evidence in my life that it's not? Right? And as you go through your list, you are going to find a lot of instances where you have proof from your own life that that's not true. Right? You're going to have, no one will listen to me. Right? Or, that could be an anxiety. I think no one will come. Well, you've had an event before where people came, right? So you mark that one off. So you go through your list and cross off anything that you have real life examples from your life that you know that that's not true. But then you have the ones that maybe you feel are true. Well, then you take a look at each of those and say, I can solve that by, and just go through each one of those and come up with a plan on how you would solve that, right? What are the things you need to do to improve those things? But then you have a much, much smaller list. And as you go through that kind of exercise, you actually are training your brain to look at what you are capable of doing, what you are good at, and what experience you've had in your life that enables you to go forward with the next step. Okay, so that's one of the best things you can do is create one of those boards, write through or if you like journaling. Journaling is a great way to get over imposter syndrome because you can just journal all of your accomplishments. Make a list of what you have done. Make a list of all of the times that you have stepped up to the challenge, right? And even if it's a little thing, write it down and then review it and kind of give yourself that self-esteem boost that acknowledging when you have done well will do, right? So make the list, make it as long as you can, write down every little thing that you are proud of or that you know you have accomplished. And keep that in front of you whenever you start to feel that I'm a fraud, I really can't do this kind of thing. Go right back to your list and review it. The other thing that you need to do when you start to feel that you are not capable of doing whatever it is, you're going to flip the script, right? You're going to flip it over on the side. And what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times you're going to be experiencing imposter syndrome because you're trying to be a persona that is not authentic to you, right? You really are feeling like an imposter because you are trying to do something that is at conflict with something inside of you, right? So you need to realize what is your actual persona. So one of the best things, especially if you are trying to be an expert in some way, and you're feeling like a fraud, you're feeling, I don't know enough, everyone in the room knows more than me, however that goes. Don't think of yourself as an expert anymore. Think of yourself instead as a reporter. Now, the reporter persona is one of the easiest flips you can do, right? Instead of take the burden of leadership or the expertise off your shoulders. You don't have to be an expert in that. Think about a news reporter. They are not experts in everything they report on, right? They are simply an expert at giving information. And so when you are feeling like, oh, I can't, I don't know enough about, you know what? Forget that. Become a reporter in your mind, and you're just reporting what you know. You're just reporting what you've learned. You don't have to be the expert, right? You are just simply reporting what other people have said. You're reporting studies that you've read. You're reporting other people's results. You don't have to be the expert. If you are not comfortable with your level of expertise, then don't try it. Just become the reporter, right? So the reporter persona a lot of times is a lot more comfortable. Okay, but what if you don't really want to be a reporter so much or whatever? Another really great persona for a lot of us is become the personal journeyer, right? You are just simply, you're not there as an expert. You're not there necessarily as a reporter. You just want to share your story. Again, it doesn't matter whether you're an expert. It doesn't matter that other people know more than you. It doesn't matter that you don't know everything. What matters is your personal story. And in your mind, if you can say, you know what, I don't have to be an expert. I just have to share what I am doing, what I have learned, what works for me. I'm just sharing me. That is actually a great way to get off imposter syndrome, because you cannot be an imposter if you are sharing what really happened to you, right? There is no way authentically in your mind that you can be an imposter when you are just merely sharing what is good for you, what has happened for you, what your journey has been, right? So you take the pressure of being an imposter off your shoulders and just be more authentic and just say, you know what, I'm going to report the news, or I'm just going to tell my story, right? But let's go back to, what if you really do want to be an expert? You want to be seen as the leader. You want to be seen as the authority, but you're just not, you're feeling those feelings of I'm inadequate, I'm a fraud, or whatever. When you're in that situation, I want you to kind of think about this example, okay? Because you're being too hard on yourself. But here's the example. Okay, so let's just imagine that you have children, and a child comes home tonight and says, oh, I need cookies for tomorrow's party. And you say, oh, okay, I'll make some cookies. And you go online and you do a quick search for, chocolate chip cookies. You pull up a recipe. You look through the ingredients. You got all the ingredients. You follow the instructions. You bake the cookies. You taste one. They taste great. They're wonderful. Wow, yay! You send them off to school with your kids. Okay, so when you do that, when you're in that situation, did you look up whether the person who did that recipe is a nutritionist? Did you look them up whether they had a degree from a culinary arts school? Did you look and say, oh my gosh, this recipe came from someone that had 15 years of experience in a bakery? No, you know what? You did not care about the credentials of who gave you that recipe. You cared about the result. You cared that you can put these things together and have this delicious cookie. I mean, you took the word of potentially kind of a random stranger and fed it to your child. Okay? That's exactly what you need to think in your head when you start to say, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't know. No, you know what? The person who's listening to you just wants to know your result. They just want to know, can they apply whatever you're telling them to their life and get a good result? That is all. You do not have to feel that you got to answer every question. You don't have to feel that you need to be an expert. You just need to be able to give them some way to get a result that they want. That is the best way to beat imposter syndrome, is be authentic for yourself and just share the information that you know. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't, the people will feel imposter syndrome when they try to fake it, right? Don't fake it till you make it. Actually do it authentically to you. Go as far as your knowledge goes, right? Don't make stuff up, because then that feeling of I'm going to be a fraud, I'm going to be a fraud will start to well up because you're not being real and authentic, right? Just share what you know and you will be fine. I mean, that's kind of how you can get through this. But you need to do a lot of personal development. If you are really struggling with, oh my gosh, I am not feeling that I'm capable, then you need to do some real self-development and actually get down to the root of that. And then just say, you know what, this is wrong. I'm trying to present myself as the wrong persona, right? I'm trying to present myself as an expert, and I'm not an expert. And I can admit that I'm not an expert, but you know what? I can be a great news reporter, or I can really share my story. And as long as you're being honest and truthful and sharing what you know, the people listening don't care. They just want the result. They just want delicious cookies, right? And if you can tell them how to do that, that's all they care. They are not looking at you going, oh, well, I'm not going to listen to her because she doesn't have a degree. Oh, 2 years ago, before she had that degree, she didn't know anything. No, you already know what you know, and it's perfectly fine to share it at this point. So anyway, so that's really what I wanted to kind of go over. So Alex, you have any questions? Oh, you're still muted. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. All right, well. Oh, I've got a question over here, but I don't know from who.
Hey, sorry, I was still
Oh,
kind
there you
of
are.
putting stuff away. I was listening. It's just,
Oh, I can barely hear you. Can you speak up?
sorry, I was still getting into the house and, but I was listening through my headphones. I don't really have a question, I guess. So.
You know what? I can barely hear you. Are you on your phone?
Yes, I'm on my phone. Is that
Can you
better?
speak like right into your phone?
Is that better?
A little bit.
Hold on. Let me go to my computer and then we can hear me.
Okay.
Sorry, y'all.
Oh, hello. Whoop.
You were just asking me if I had any questions?
Yeah. What do you want?
Oh, am I the only one on now?
At the moment, yep.
Where did everyone else go?
I don't know. I think we had technical difficulties with one or two, and I don't know.
Okay. Okay. My phone was in my pocket, so I didn't see what was going on. Let's see. Oh, my goodness.
So you had a question?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. I don't have to have a question, but. All right, so did you hear anything that was helpful?
Yeah.
Anything that, now have you ever heard of a crap board?
I have not heard of it before. No.
Okay, and if you look it up, I mean, you can look up just crap board, C-R-A-P board, and you'll see the guy who came up with it and the instructions kind of thing. But it's a very useful exercise. And I find that it really does get you some real clarity into what is bothering you. And you can actually go, oh, that's really not true. Why am I believing that about myself?
Right.
It really can be a real useful tool. So I would definitely do that. And then the whole, put yourself in a different persona. That's also really, because when you were approaching it as a leader, I'm an expert, that's one thing. But if you start to approach it as, oh, I'm just a reporter, or you know what, forget both of those, I'm just sharing my story, that kind of flips the switch in your head to take some of that imposter syndrome off. Especially when you're doing personal story, you cannot be an imposter telling your own story, like truthfully telling your story.
Right.
You can't feel like an imposter when you're actually doing, telling people about you.
Right.
So that's one of the best, when people start to like, oh, people won't believe me. Well, it's your own real life story.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they don't believe you, well, there's something wrong with them. It's not wrong with your story.
Right.
Yeah. So cool.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So crap board and take on a different persona.
Yeah. Whenever you're feeling that, when those feelings come up and go, I'm not good enough. You are good enough to be a reporter, right? You are good enough to share your own story. And you actually are good enough to be an expert when you think about the cookie recipe, right? That
Right.
I am perfectly capable of telling someone else a recipe that will work.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Right.
because you have to remember that the person taking the recipe just wants a recipe. They're not digging into your background. They're not like going, oh, I can't take a recipe from anyone who, isn't a professional baker.
Right.
No.
No.
Right?
Right.
I mean, you actually will take a recipe from, just about anyone and make it and feed it to your family. And you're not questioning their credentials. So keep that in mind whenever you start to feel that, oh, I'm not, I don't know enough. Well, you know what? The person who put together that cookie recipe, you don't know what they knew. Right?
Right. No.
And you didn't question it. And that's the thing. There's so many times that you will hear people talk and you're not going to question where they got their knowledge from, what they, because what they said makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really what this whole world is about, is just sharing knowledge with each other, so that we help each other live better lives. That's the whole deal. That's what we all want to do. And so there's no need to beat yourself up, and just say, well, I'm not good enough. No, you are. You're perfectly good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine.
Yeah. I have this. My biggest hang up is going from broke college student who's broke all the time to successful businesswoman who's making money.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a process, right?
Yeah.
And it really is, again, it's what is authentic to you. And broke college student, maybe, maybe not. You can be a wealthy college student. I mean, those things don't have to go together. But in your mind, what you need to be thinking is, I'm a college student that has a way to make money, right? That you have this incredible vehicle in front of you. That all you need to do is, I really think this is for you, is just to commit that that's what you want to do. That you see the potential in that, and you're going to give it your all for a year or two to kind of get that pump primed and get Juice Plus really working for you, right?
Right.
And it really is just a matter of making that decision. And what persona do you want to be? If I were you, and I don't, we can certainly talk about it later, but as a college student who's also doing Juice Plus and recognizing the health benefits and recognizing the potential income and knowing how that can help people, you don't have to be, you can be a college student who happens to know all this great stuff about health, right? You can be a graphic or a computer science college student, but you also know about health and nutrition and easy ways to get all of your fruits and vegetables. That's just knowledge that you have, and you just simply share it as a reporter or just as your personal journey. One thing that I would maybe recommend for you is to do some posts, some videos or whatever about your personal experiences, your personal journey. When you are eating the little gummies of the fruits and vegetables or anything, one morning you open the pack and just kind of very quickly say, I'm doing this morning because I know it gives me these nutrients, whatever. A very quick little thing, your personal story, and that's it. You don't have to sell anyone, but you do that enough times, a couple of different things, that whatever you do during the day, people will start to take notice, and pretty soon people will start to reach out to you and go, hey, those gummies, I want to know more. Bingo, right?
Right.
You don't have to make it difficult. You just need to kind of incorporate in your life, because Juice Plus has been part of your life for a while. So open up to others about how you use it in your life.
Okay.
Right? And then people will start to see that, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to do whatever results you're getting, maybe they want those results too. And just make it natural. But don't ever feel that you need to fake it. Because everyone starts at the bottom. Everyone starts, not knowing anything. Right? So the fact that you have been in Juice Plus for a year or so, you know more than people who haven't been in.
Right.
And so you don't have to, go around, bragging about, oh, I know so much more. No, but understand internally, you know more. And then it's just a matter of sharing what you know with others.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole idea of imposter syndrome is just get in touch with who you are authentically and be that person. And don't put ridiculous kind of what do I want to say, limitations on yourself or ridiculous expectations on yourself. Just be real.
Okay.
Anything else?
No. Oh, I need to get my tissue box.
Yes, get your tissue box.
Oh, AC broken upstairs, so it's warm. What? How do you spell the crap board again?
It's crap. It's CRAP.
Well, it is just crap. Okay.
Yeah, and it is just, and if you do a search for crap board, you'll
Uh-huh.
find the guy who, came up with it, some psychologist, and you can read all about it. And I've got, some write-ups about it. But it really is a very useful tool.
Okay, I'll definitely look into that. I mean, I've done dream boards before.
Well, I mean, this is kind of,
This sounds like a bit of the opposite,
but it actually is dealing with you internally. And the one thing about the crap board is that you write down all the things, and then you cross them off and go, that's not true, that's not real, that that's made up. But you will have some on the list that you go, oh, you know what, I really do feel that about me. I do think that is an issue. But then you've got a list of 4 or 5 things that are true issues for you that you can then address, right? It may come up about, I stutter when I talk, kind of thing. And maybe you really do, right? And that's not a fake fear. That's not a fear you made up, but that's something that actually happens to you. I sweat this way, whatever it is. And then you could go, okay, how do I address that? What kinds of steps can I do to eliminate that, make sure that I address that issue? But then it's real versus things that you're making up in your mind. And, and that's what a lot of us do is, they say fear is false evidence appearing real. So many of us make up things to be afraid of. And for no reason. There's no reason to be afraid that, someone in the audience is going to ask a question I don't know. Okay, why is that a fear? Just say, that's a good question. I don't know the answer, but here's some resources where you might be able to find it out, right? There's no reason to put the pressure on yourself that you have to answer every question, that you have to be the only expert. There's, and that's the thing, people have these expectations of yourself. That's just, it's not realistic. So do you suffer from perfectionism? Yeah, I can't say it. Are you a perfectionist?
Sometimes I am.
Sometimes?
I'm like, screw it. I don't care.
Okay, well, I think that's a healthy attitude, so that's okay.
Some things I go, I usually do it when I'm just how certain things can look. Sometimes it's really weird. Like if I'm doing working on a video project or something, I'm like, right, must fix, stuff like that. But I don't really expect perfectionist for myself, really, because I know that's not normal.
Right. Well, that's healthy, right? To understand that it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be passable. It has to be something that you're proud of. But it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the soloist? Are you
the
person who wants to do it all by themselves? Doesn't want any help? Do you want to just figure it out on your own? Is that you?
It's like I want help, but I feel like sometimes I don't know where to look for help, and then sometimes I go, should I even ask for the help?
Yes.
And
there's nothing wrong at all ever asking for help. There really isn't. There's no reason. If you are feeling that you need some help, ask. Because you know what? A lot of people would love to help if they knew how. If they knew what it is that you really needed, they'd be more than happy to help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just human nature. I mean, humans
Yeah.
like to help. I mean, they actually really do like to help each other.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, sometimes
I
you
know that.
don't see it, but most humans do like to be helpful to other humans.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you're asking, you are actually making them feel good that they're in a position that they can help.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes I feel like I don't even know what I want to ask.
Well, I mean, you know,
like,
that you've got to, you gotta figure out what it is that you need help with, but don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. True. And intellectually, it's like, yeah, you can ask for help. Emotionally, I sometimes go, what should I ask? Who should I ask? Should I even bother this person? Which is totally irrational. And yeah. So just trying to get over those emotional hang-ups, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes have.
You know, and everyone has some, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of working through them, getting to know yourself, getting to like yourself, getting to really understand what makes Alex Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And then just work through that. It takes some work. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of that either. Don't be afraid of, you know, doing meditation or journaling or, you know, really thinking about yourself. Do the crap board. Honestly, it's a great exercise. You will learn about yourself. And that's really what you need to do.
Okay. I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely do that. I like that idea. Well, thank you.
All right. Well, I think we will cut it off for today. Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will make the link to the replay available.
Okay.
So I'll have it available to you tomorrow morning. So
Okay.
you can watch it, you know, you can replay it. If there's anything you want to go take some notes or hear anything again, you'll be able to hear it tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Good night.
Good night. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.